Welcome to my 172nd video on my work with OO gauge. This past Sunday I went to the train show held in Breslau, Ontario, which was put on by the local chapter of the National Model Railroad Association. This wasn't a long drive for me, about 45 minutes from where I live in Brantford, Ontario. Although the local NMRA show used to be even closer, as before this it was held in Paris, Ontario, just up the road from me. To tell the truth, I wasn't really expecting to find all that much for me at this show, as naturally enough the NMRA tends to be mainly focused on modelling North American railways, and locally especially Canadian railways, whereas although I'm always interested to see a variety of things, I only model British railways, and in the pre-World War II time period at that, with an especial focus on the LMS, the company that my family worked for. I really should have taken a camera to the show, as there were things there well worth capturing on video. Especially my interest was captured by a fine Hornby 003 rail layout, which I wasn't really expecting. It wasn't much deeper from front to back than my own tabletop, but it was 3 or 4 times the length and featured a good variety of 00 items, with a large roofed central station in the middle. But I didn't take a camera to the show, so I can only apologise for not being able to show you pictures of that. There were several other layouts exhibited, but the others were, as expected, all North American in focus. I was surprised how much Z-scale stuff was on show. I hadn't realised it was so popular locally. HO was naturally still the predominant scale, with a certain amount of American N-gauge stuff and some larger Lionel trains, etc. There were also some Canadian Railway collectibles, and lots of books, but nothing that I felt moved to buy, which is just as well, as my house is stuffed with books as it is. I did come back with a number of items as seen here, so I just thought I'd make a brief video to show what I picked up. British model trains were there, and I picked up a number of items from them by prior arrangement. Apart from that, almost all of the items that I bought came from a gentleman who calls himself Dave the Flying Scotsman. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up getting more things from him in the future. There was another vendor who was selling mostly Canadian stuff, who had a mint Hornby 00 train set for sale, asking $200. I thought that was a really good deal, but I buy stuff to play with. I don't buy collectibles to keep wrapped up on a shelf. And the set in question featured a tank engine in BR black livery, 2 crimson suburban coaches, and a circle of track. Well, I already have way more standard 3-rail curves than I can use. I also have 7 crimson suburban coaches, and I have a nice 264 tank engine converted to LMS livery. So as the set didn't offer anything for which I really had an immediate practical use, I left it for someone else to enjoy. Seen here is what I did come back with, so let me just show you these items a bit more closely. Here's everything laid out but not unpacked. Not perhaps as much as I might have hoped for, but really more than I realistically expected. I was happy to buy this box of old paints for $5. I know that they'll likely need a lot of mixing to get them usable, but I've generally found that I can get the old Flockwill paints to work, which is what most of these are. I do quite a bit of painting one way and another, and more options are always welcome. And it's easy to spend quite a bit on new paints, to say nothing of the fact that the available selection seems to get smaller all the time. Honestly, I also find the quality of these older paints is often better than the newer stuff once they're properly mixed. These figures and the plastic luggage items came from British model trains. I picked up a mixed set of old accessories on eBay UK, with the intention of using them with my 3-rail tabletop. There were several luggage trolleys in that set, but almost no actual luggage, hence the set of plastic luggage at top right. The set from eBay also included some nice die-cast figures suitable for my 3-rail tabletop, but those were almost all basically passengers. I wanted some station staff to go with them, hence this set, which I was happy to get. These masterpiece metal figures might end up as loco crew, or perhaps just posed here and there. In any event, I think they'll fit in nicely. Oddly enough, the top item here was probably the thing that I was most excited to get. It's a 003 rail railer. I only paid $5 for it. I really wanted one of these, as you really can't use railers meant for 2-rail on 3-rail track, and it was fiddly always railing my 3-rail stock without the aid of a railer. And if I had to buy one of these from the UK, I'd end up paying £20 shipping or even more, so it would end up costing me something like $40, which is ridiculous. I also bought a pack of 5 standard straights. I've pretty much finished my track setup for the 3-rail tabletop, but I ran out of standard straights a while back and ended up using half straights to finish my sidings, so I thought that it would be good to have some more standard straights on hand. I might make some more changes to the tabletop track plan, and even if I don't do that, I might want to add a 3-rail test track to my testing area, which these straights would be ideal for. The Slater's seated figures at top centre aren't really anything to do with anything specific that I'm doing at the moment. It's just that I've gone through 2 sets of these before, using them for things like drivers in vehicles, passengers, customers, etc. There isn't all that much else readily available in the way of 00 scale seated figures, so I tend to fall back on these, so I figured that I might as well pick up another set whilst they were available. The Wardy fire stand is an odd little item. There was actually one of these included in the set of accessories that I got on eBay, although I didn't know that it was a Wardy item as that one wasn't boxed. Honestly, the design of this item seems pretty weird to me. I mean, in 00 scale, those fire buckets are something like 8 feet above the ground. What are the folks supposed to do if there's a fire? Climb up on the sandbox and then reach over their heads to get at the buckets? I'm thinking that I may end up lowering the buckets, as otherwise it's going to bother me every time I look at them. Finally, I did pick up these 4 boxed 003 rail rolling stock items, all wagons of one sort and another. Here the wagons are out of their boxes. Again, I buy things to play with, so I'm not really bothered about boxes, but I do hold on to the old 00 boxes as they're a bit of history in themselves. This is the standard Midland-style 20-ton brake van. These were probably the most common brake vans on the LMS in the 1930s, and they were painted grey initially, although from 1937 on they started to be painted bauxite brown. This is tin plate, of course. This is a 30-ton bogie bolster wagon. I might put some pipes or something onto it as a load, or maybe even sections of rail. This is die-cast. This is a 50-ton bogie brick wagon. It's also tin plate with a die-cast chassis. All of these wagons came with plastic wheels, so although they were in blue boxes, they could actually be used for 2-rail. I did rather wonder whether someone had changed the wheels at some point. Finally, there was this flat wagon with cable reels for a load. The reels were made of wood with paper labels stuck on. There was a later version that had plastic reels. And the paper labels on this one were peeling off quite badly. I got the wagon onto the bench and did my best to glue the paper labels back in place using rocket card glue. It had been a while since I built a card kit, so I was pleased to find that this bottle of rocket glue was still fully usable. I expect to be building the Super Quick card engine shed kit quite soon. I obviously couldn't restore the wagon load to its original condition, but I think that I did succeed in improving it quite a bit. Here's the other side of that wagon after my repair efforts. And finally, here's everything assembled again. Much of this stuff will be getting onto the 3-rail tabletop soon in combination with the other accessories and figures from eBay.